Well, it's another episode of the Cinnamon. We've missed you.
We've missed everybody. There's no one here but us chickens. So
Yes, we have missed everybody. Douglas, this is our first official show back to work as the Cinnamon.
I love how you put quotes. I'm the only one that can see this.
Oh yeah, you're right. Are you ready to get into the show proper?
The show proper? Never. We've never done anything properly, and I think on episode 27 is not the good time to start. We should wait to something more formal like episode 50 or 100 to be proper about.
I can agree with that.
Things are nuts, and we figured it would be a good idea to just sort of make things a little bit more normal, try to record this a little bit, bring a little shenanigans to you and yours, and also talk a little bit of movies, see if we can sort of help things out a little bit.
Yeah, man. Times are panicky, and we're here to just give you a little bit of calm in your days. Listen to these.
I don't know what needs to be calm, but it needs to be somewhere you can stay at home.
Yes, don't cue this up in your car. Cue this up at your place of residence. Put in some earbuds and just do some spring cleaning. It's April. Do some spring cleaning while you listen to The Cinnamon and other shows on the Paprika Network.
Absolutely. Open up the windows, get some fresh air, stay inside.
Stay inside. Stay your ass inside. I don't care if you don't like your family. This is the time to like your family.
Yeah.
Keep it inside. And if you're single, then listen to more Paprika.
If you really don't like your family, put on a movie so that nobody has to talk to each other.
I feel like that doesn't happen in houses, to be completely honest with you.
That's fair. That's probably why Netflix has the subscription service of 3 or 4 simul watches.
Yeah. Netflix, I do believe, is the reason why people are talking more in theaters. Everybody got too comfortable. Everyone got too comfortable watching movies at home. I saw it wasn't
Emma.
It was The Gentleman. I think it was The Gentleman.
We were together Emma. For that one.
No, I went back and saw it again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it was Gentleman, where someone just fucking took their shoes and socks off and got real nice and cozy. And I'm like, Netflix, this is all your fault. Yeah. Anyways, Cinnamon sponsored by Netflix.
Folks.
Yeah,
I mean, they're nobody's homes right now, but they're definitely not your home. You sit, you be quiet, you watch a movie. Now, there's certain films where it becomes like that communal experience. Certain films almost encourage, not wanting you to talk over the film, but they encourage you to get caught up in it. I will never forget the uproar when Captain America looks at Hulk in Avengers and goes, smash. My whole theater exploded. There's moments in some films where, yes, get into it. But otherwise, shut the hell up.
Please.
It's not your living room.
There's only been one movie where I have abided multiple people talking. And I'm pretty sure I've talked about it on Cinnamon. And it's Get Out. And I took my girlfriend at the time, a very white woman, to the blackest theater possible to watch this movie. And the audience's commentary elevated the movie so much. It made it so better. Other than that, shut the hell up. Now, speaking of theaters and watching movies, what have you seen recently, Doug, here at home amongst this isolation?
Well, our viewers can't see it. You can. But I'm currently sitting in my office as we record this, and Daryl over my shoulder can read my current schedule.
I know I can't, because your handwriting is shit.
I can read it. That is all that matters.
That's all that matters.
This is why I type my reviews. Thank you. Because when people see my handwriting, they go, "Oh, you went to Johns Hopkins. This makes sense. I'm not a doctor. I have an MA." But there is no shortage of films coming out, whether they are the films that hit theaters that are suddenly getting faster home releases. Films like The Postcard Killings came out on the 13th of March. Yeah, they were all shut down shortly after that. So that's hitting home viewing in May. We've got films like Birds of Prey that's already available on VOD, also hitting home video in May. But we've had Vivarium hit VOD services late March. We've
Right.
got films like, let's see, what's behind me right now?
I don't know. Can you read it?
I can't. F you, buddy. I'm watching The Last Husband tonight. It's a drama that's coming out on VOD on the 10th. We've got films like The Witch Subversion, which is already out on home video. We've got there's tons of movies. You just have to change the way that you think about it, much like the studios are changing the way that they are approaching things. Now, some films I actually would recommend is one I just mentioned, The Witch Subversion.
Mm-hmm.
The film that was distributed by Wellgo USA. On IMDb, it's listed as part 1, and I am keeping my fingers crossed that it is a part 1 and they make more. If only because this film was so well done, I would like to see more from this character. Though at the same time, it's done so well, I kind of want them to leave it alone, but I want more. I do.
The conundrum.
It is. It is. This is the same studio that released Burning, by the way, that released Villainess.
Yeah.
That released, is currently about to drop on digital the 7th, Ip Man 4, the finale.
I'm very ready for Ip Man to be over.
So is it, I think. So is it. My review will drop for that on April 6th.
All right, then.
So y'all can take a look at that. But The Subversion, it is written and directed by Park Kwang-jung, and he written and directed. It is a family drama, thriller, supernatural action flick.
Man, all right then.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
The
right.
trailer for it makes it look like a supernatural horror action movie, and it's not that. The trailer makes it seem like it's intense action sequences born out of a martial arts movie with a lot of horror elements. It's not that at all. And to explain more than the fact that it's about a young girl who escapes a secret government facility where they were doing experiments and ends up being attacked by them as an adult, where she doesn't really remember what's going on. To say more than that would spoil it.
Oh, that's enough to sell me on the hook.
Oh yeah. If you've seen The Villainess, it has elements of that film.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've seen Burning, it has elements of that film. And that is the best comparison I want to make.
Okay.
Truly. And Burning is fucking amazing, as was The Villainess. And if you didn't see The Villainess, but you like the John Wick films, check that film out. Because Chapter 3, Parabellum, the motorcycle sequence John Wick is in, was inspired by a sequence in The Villainess.
Ah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Done and done.
Yeah, I recommend that. If you've got Netflix, most of you do. There's a anime visual album, is I think how it's described, that I got turned on to in March and then wasn't going anywhere, so I finally checked it out. Sturgill Simpson Presents Sound and Fury. This is amazing.
Yeah, I heard about it, and I was like, I'll get to it when I get to it.
I definitely recommend getting to it. Even if it's something you put on in the background, the music is fantastic. And get into the music first and then check out the visual elements. As I understand it, the same director who did Batman Ninja, they got together other storytellers and directors to animate each song. So there isn't necessarily a cohesive through line throughout the whole album. There are elements that jump in and jump out that tell a story, but it is fantastic.
Sold.
It is fantastic. And it's at your fingertips, as is Vivarium, which is probably the last movie you want to watch when you're on lockdown, but it's going to be interesting enough that I think it's worth checking out. It features Imogen Poots and Jesse Eisenberg as a couple that go with a real estate agent, I guess is the best way to put it, who manages a community called Yonder, and they go to take a look at it and then get stuck there. They can't escape.
Huh.
And they're told that the only way that they can get out is if they raise a baby as their own. The baby shows up in a box.
What now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The only way that they are told that they will be released is if they raise the child as their own. Food is just delivered. There's nobody else in the community. So it feels very much like what we're doing right now. And I would caution that parents that are stuck with their children might feel that this experience is a little too real for them.
And here I thought it took a community to raise a child.
Oh, no. Well, yes, but not when there's no other members of the community. So
right.
I think it is a really interesting watch. It's an examination of consumerism and sort of the nuclear family, and would definitely recommend it.
Right on. Right on. I have not done a lot of watching of film because I'm finally all caught up on 100 for 100. Now that is all said and done, as far as my watching and writing and recording is concerned, I had to watch a last few good run of movies to make sure I had substance to talk about on those podcasts. So that has been what I've been checking out lately. And I can't reveal quite yet what's on the list, but I have been watching those movies. And also, this is the due to the environment that we're in now. It's the time for the binge, right? And when I think about binge, I think about television more than I think about movies. So I caught up on the last season of BoJack Horseman, which is probably one of the best shows Netflix will ever put out. Definitely one of the realest shows they will ever put out. Weighty issues guised under silly cartoon horses. And then also a couple other shows. So yes, next Cinnamon, I'll be back to actually watching real things. But I did, however, watch a pair of documentaries, which is generally out of my league. I watched on Pluto TV, which people forget is a viable option for watching some kind of content. It's not always the best, but it's better than nothing. They had a documentary about Image Comics, it's called The Image Revolution, Image is my favorite publishing company of comics. It's outside of the big two, Marvel and DC. It was founded by a bunch of people who left Marvel Comics. Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, a whole lot of other people, Mark Silvestri, a whole bunch of other people. And it's just the boom, their initial boom of Image Comics, and how I knew that they all left Marvel. I didn't realize that those 7 guys together made up pretty much all of Marvel's top sales. And they all said, fuck it, we quit, and dipped out, and then started Image. And how it grew, how the boom hit and it dropped, and then how kind of it grew into what it became today. And it has all 7 members, I do believe. All 7 members are featured in the documentary. It paints some of them in not a great light, because some of them are not the greatest people. But if you are interested in comics at all, it's specifically Image, go ahead and check out The Image Revolution. And also on Netflix, I hopped on to, let me see what movies are out there to watch. And then I saw that Dave Chappelle's Mark Twain Awards was on there. So I checked that out. For those that don't know, last year or early this year, I don't know, this year's already been 3 years long. Dave Chappelle was awarded the Mark Twain Award, which is the award for humor. And it's kind of just like a documentary about that. So they interview people that knew Dave when he was first starting out. And then they actually show clips from the award show itself. They have speakers come out like Bradley Cooper. Chappelle was in A Star Is Born.
Neil Brennan. Expecting him to get a nomination just from the trailer alone, and then he ended up being in there for a cup of coffee. So.
Yeah, I think you were not the only person, because they saw that one little clip and they're like, "Oh, Dave wants something serious, and he looks good." Yeah. I think we all wanted more Dave Chappelle in that movie. Neil Brennan from the Chappelle Show, the Chappelle Show co-creator, the co-writer of Half Baked. Sarah Silverman, other comedians. So it's interspersed with this night of celebrating one of our most innovative comedians, and clips from his old stand-up specials that kind of show what a creative guy Dave can be.
Yeah.
So that was also very, very, very good to watch. And some not before scene clips. Dave's got a little 5 or 10 minute set at the very end there while he's, being awarded the Mark Twain Award, where he gives good, proper respects to the genre of stand-up comedy, which I very much appreciate as a person who used to do stand-up comedy. So yes, also very good right there on Netflix. Check that out.
Boom.
Done and done. Are we ready to get into the topic for today? Good sir?
Yeah, I think we should. And we were trying to figure out what it was we wanted to discuss, and we were originally supposed to have a new guest on this show, and technology being what it is, we're still trying to work this out for ourselves. But we thought it would be a good idea to recommend some films that you can get lost in a little bit, to offer some distraction. Now, of course, that is a huge area and can be interpreted in so many different ways that when I put it out there, Dare was like, yeah, you're going to need to narrow that down a little bit. And I went, no, I do not, sir. No, I do not.
Yeah, that's how that went.
And I am a wild horse. I will go where I please.
All right, calm down, wild stallion.
Yeah, something like that. Be excellent to each other. That's all I'm saying.
That's
just be excellent to each other.
That's the theme that we need in life right now. Be excellent to each other from 6 feet away.
Which, did you hear about Alex Winter? Quick. Talking about wild stallions, be excellent to each other. Alex Winter actually started being like, okay, I've got this much. DM me and Venmo me, and I'll send you money. He was just like, let me help you out.
Yeah, and that that raises a question of where did Alex Winter get that money? Because I haven't seen him since Bill and Ted 2.
He's actually been working on a lot of documentaries. He was supposed to have a new documentary be screened at South by Southwest this year.
Right on. Yeah. Okay. Shout out to Alex Winter.
I don't know if he's in front of the camera with it, but it sounds more like he's been producing stuff. I mean, dude's working.
All right, dude's working. That's all that matters. Yeah. When they announced the early rumblings of Bill and Ted 3, and I was like, what dumpster are they finding Alex Winter under? And apparently he's been out there working.
He has been out there working. This is one of those things, y'all, just because you don't know about it doesn't mean it's not happening.
Yeah.
So just because you're like, man, this year's been terrible for movies. I only saw 4 films in the theater. Then y'all need to be opening your horizons about where to find your movies.
Broad your horizons.
And that's what we're here for.
Hey, that's what the Cinnamon are here for.
We are here for you, to help you consider some stuff that, for example, might be able to take your mind off of the shithole we are all in right now.
We're in your corner.
Would you like to go first with your first recommendation?
I would go first with my first recommendation. Number one, a film to just to lose yourself in. I interpret it as, since I got no clear guidance from Douglas.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I kind of thought of it as kind of like films that just not quite turn your mind off, but just enjoy.
Yeah.
That being said, my number 3 film is Friday.
Damn!
Now, in 1995, I do believe F. Gary Gray. Do I even need to talk about Friday? I mean, I feel like it's one of those movies that everyone has seen by now. It's fun. It's fun. It's funny. It might be one of the funniest films of the 90s. Like, I think it's up there. Friday might be number 1. Straight Up Half-Baked is up there for me as well, talking about Dave Chappelle. But it's the introduction of Chris Tucker, who did a lot of great work thanks to Friday. The Rush Hours, the Money Talks. All
Fifth
about
Element.
Benjamin. Yeah, Fifth. A lot of people love him at Fifth Element. I'm of the rare group that cannot stand that movie, specifically because of Chris Tucker.
It's not green.
Chris Tucker's why I don't like that movie. But I think we got the dramatic Ice Cube, right? And Boys in the Hood. And thanks specifically to Boys in the Hood, the director's like, why don't you just go make what you want to make to Ice Cube? And he's like, all right, I'm going to write a comedy. I think comedy is as serious as Ice Cube can be. That's the real Ice Cube. He likes making people laugh. And God damn it, if we didn't laugh Friday. So many great guest appearances. Bernie Mac in there, obviously, as the infidelity preacher. so much goodness that comes out of Friday. It's a good movie to just sit back, turn your brain off, and just laugh at it.
I would be lying if when my son was learning to walk and he fell down, I didn't say to him, "You just got knocked the fuck out."
Yeah, good old Zeus Tiny Lister in there, and yeah,
good
it's a lot of goodness. Yeah, great parenting, sir. Great parenting. Yeah, just lose yourself in an environment that can be quite serious, but the funny situations that can come out of that seriousness is how I would describe Friday. I think things to get serious towards the end. I think that John Witherspoon speech about not using the gun and settle your differences. Theoretically, diplomacy is the best way to settle things, but when that doesn't work, settle your differences like men, quote unquote, with your fists. Using a gun is too easy to settle differences. Just fight it out, and then let all that bad air clear out. And you, like he says in the movie, you live to fight another day. And I think that is the best John Witherspoon performance, is that one scene specifically.
Right on.
And what is your first pick there, sir?
My first pick, I decided to go out there a little bit, and it's possible my films will be completely and totally out there, but I'm okay with that, is Flash Gordon, 1980. Yep.
All right.
You know why? You know why I picked that one? Because he
that?
saved every one of us, Daryl. Because he saved every one of us. This film, and may he rest in peace, Max von Sydow, as Ming the Merciless.
Ming the Merciless.
A film that is so absolutely bizarre. I've heard rumblings, by the way, of a 4K release this summer. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. That movie is so gorgeous and so bizarre. It captures the sort of 70s heavy metal sci-fi mania that was hitting a few films. It's directed by Mike Hodges. Wait, I can't read my own handwriting. Miles Hodges. Yeah, F you, buddy. Who not only did Get Carter, the original Get Carter, but he worked with Queen in a lot of their music videos. And this film, Sam Jones, who unfortunately doesn't really do much other than this. You've got Topple, who as Dr. Zarkov, who, he's also Tevye. Timothy Dalton, Brian Blessed, leading the Hawkmen, and of course Richard O'Brien in a very, very small role. And Richard O'Brien will always be
with us,
man, Mr. Riffraff. But this film is, as a kid, I just remember being like, "What the F is happening?" And I just it just makes me happy in some strange way, particularly that soundtrack by Queen, who I grew up sort of idolizing their music and the messages within. So I have to go with Flash Gordon. If we're looking for a distraction, let's get weird. Let's get weird.
Okay, so you want the let's get weird route with your movies. All right.
With that one.
I'm going to take a gamble and say your other two movies are also probably pretty weird.
It depends on your perspective.
From a certain point of view. Right on. You know what? That is a great choice. I'm a huge fan of that movie, and it's one that I've been meaning to go back and rewatch. Maybe like a week or two ago. Someone had mentioned it on Twitter, and I was like, I haven't seen Flash Gordon in years. I kind of want to go back and revisit that. So good call, sir.
Thank you.
My second pick, which shows up on every other list that I do. I keep finding ways.
Inception, 1917.
No, Ocean's 11.
Ooh.
Yeah, look, if you want to just get lost in the film, there is no better group of people to get lost with than Danny Ocean and his 10 other people he's pulling this heist with.
Do you think we need one more?
We need one more.
We need one more.
We'll get one more. It's amazing. You get swept up in, especially, the third act where the heist goes down.
Yeah.
I think they do a great job building towards that. Then all the building towards that's where you get all your character development and all the setups. And then the third act is just an act full of payoffs, right? And you just get caught up in it, like, all right, Yin's hand is caught in the with the cloth is caught in the and they set that up because Yin's hand got smashed in the van door because of Matt Damon's recklessness. Yeah, it was Matt Damon. Yeah,
Yeah.
Matt Damon's recklessness and just the witty banter and the snappiness, the well dressed, just the way it was shot looks very stylized. And that's what Vegas is. It's stylized. It's just it's America's playground, as they say in the movie. There is no better movie, I think, just to get swept up in. How are they going to pull this off? How are they going to do this? I've seen the movie a million times, and every time I'm like, oh, how's this going to go down? Then Soderbergh's Ocean's 11.
While it's not from that particular film, Crystal and I, whenever we're trying to work something out and one of us is like, it's going to work, chances are one of us will say from Ocean's 13, The Nose Plays. The Nose Plays.
I love that nose bit. That might be my favorite bit from 13 is that ridiculous nose.
Go ahead. Sorry.
One thing me and my coworker back in the days used to do is we'd be bandying about an idea to run up to leadership. And one of us say, I could ask. And they'll go, hey, we could ask. Little 11's action for you.
That is a great call. That movie is surprisingly intelligent. It's its own film, even as it's a remake of the Rat
Pack joint.
Yeah, it's its own film, and it's a stronger film to me. We've talked about this before. And you talked about all these setups, all of the interactions that we see. To me, are like a good martial arts movie. Mm-hmm. Is that the fighting that takes place in a martial arts movie communicates the character of the individuals fighting. And with this film, yes, they're pulling cons and they're quote unquote bad people, but the people that they tend to rip off can't afford it, one, and two, are usually bad people themselves.
Yeah.
So at least as framed in this film.
Right.
And when we see them doing jobs and the way that they talk to each other, we get a lot about who they are. So I agree completely. That is a great choice.
Yeah, thank you, sir. What is next on your list? See what I mean? Yeah. See what I mean? Weird and out there.
Ready to Rumble.
Wait, what?
I went with Ready to Rumble. I was looking at my wall and I was like, what movie would just take my mind off of everything that's happening? And apparently last night, I forget if it's a one night or a 2-night event, but last night was the start of WrestleMania.
Yeah, it's a 2-night
without
event.
An audience. And my Twitter was just full of people talking about that event. And I was just like, it would be so much fun. Ready to Rumble. It would be so great to revisit that movie, which has such a great cast of people being super ridiculous. Super ridiculous. I mean, whatever you think of David Arquette, he is strong in comedy. You've got Scott Conn, who is incredibly versatile.
Oh, you mean Ocean's 11's Scott Conn?
Yes, I do. Also, Varsity Blues. Scott Conn,
that's true.
Which this was directed by the same guy who did that, Brian Robbins. And, of course, it was written by Stephen Brill, who did Little Nicky. But it's got Oliver Platt as the king.
I love me some Ollie Platt.
And Joe Pantoliano as the bad guy, the sort of Vince McMahon running everything.
Cypher.
And you've got, let's see who else. Martin Landau.
You know what? I saw it once when it first came out, and I was like, okay. And then I haven't seen it since, not because I didn't like it. It just hasn't come up as a reason to watch it again. But yeah, I remember
for some reason, anytime someone is talking about wrestling, I'm just, I turn into Martin Landau. Sal Bandini, want to wrestle? Yeah. He just kicks the shit out of everybody. But I mean, it's got DDP and Sting and Bill Goldberg and a whole bunch of actual wrestlers.
Yeah, wrestlers.
That back when this came out in 2000 was still a big deal.
20 years ago.
Yeah. I saw this in college and lost my mind at how amazing it was. Because it knows that the people watching it most likely are wrestling fans. Mm-hmm. That those wrestling fans understand that what they're watching is just a soap opera. That's what it is. But there is incredible physicality attached to it. That this is athleticism. So the quote unquote bad guys in the movie are the actual shitty people you expect to make fun of wrestling, but then the real bad guy is an actual Vince McMahon. So,
Right. Yeah.
we're all okay with that. But it's got some great action, some wonderful physical comedy, and it is so dumb. And yet it works so well. So if you haven't seen Ready to Rumble and you're a wrestling fan, check it out. If you're not a wrestling fan and enjoy a good comedy, check it out.
Douglas with the deep pull. Well done, sir.
I told you it'd get weird. That's what this was all about.
And my last film, you want to lose yourself in a joint. I went serious with my last one. I went with Guillermo del Toro's Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah,
Wow.
like when you hit play on that joint, like all of life's ills just fall away for me when I watch that movie, because you're just so caught up in this world of fictional monsters, real life monsters with the Colonel and his yes men and fairies and all that kind of, and this young heroine just trying to make it through life and make sure her mom's safe, and her soon to be sibling is safe, and all that kind of good stuff, and the magic. And then you have the Pan the Fawn showing up, and the difference between the quote unquote real world and this fantasy world. And it's, you want to get swept up in some shit, that's some shit to get swept up in. I think it is still the most beautiful Del Toro movie we've got. Hellboy 2 comes close. Hellboy 2 comes real close, especially one scene where they kill that giant plant and then it blooms all over the city. That might be the most Del Toro scene of all time.
I need to rewatch that movie. I've only seen it once, and it's because it didn't work for me.
Yeah, I mean,
the practical effects are amazing.
It doesn't really work that much. Like, I love Hellboy 1. Hellboy 2, not as good, but it has the best scene. Shape of Water also has got some good scenes, but fish fucking. But
it is about more than that.
Oh, okay. But Pan's Labyrinth, man, I think he mines his best material. He gets the best performances. The guy who plays, I think his name was, this title is the Colonel or whatever, her stepfather.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him in one or two other things, and I'm always like, I don't trust that fucking guy because of Pan's Labyrinth, man. And it is a quote unquote foreign film. You will have to read the subtitles, but I think it is well worth it to watch this movie. It's one of those joints where I say, let the sun drop, turn those lights out, and just make sure you're just encased in darkness, or all your focus is on this film, because you will get taken for a ride if you've never seen Pan's Labyrinth before. And I think, you can get swept up in that. And however long the running time is, minutes later, you'll be like, oh, well, that was great. Back to the real world now. That's why I love it.
That movie, I think, got a 4K release last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it had been a long time since I'd seen it, so I rewatched it. First time I went into it, I was expecting it to be sort of a light, happy ending type of film. This is an adult fairy tale in the truest sense of what a fairy tale is, like Grimm's fairy tales, where fairy tales were warnings about things. And so if you're going into this expecting Hellboy, it's more akin to The Shape of Water in many respects. But it is, I agree with you on pretty much everything you just said. That is an incredible film. Don't know what I was trying to say there. Good pick.
Thank you, sir. I have the Criterion streaming service, which, God damn it, Criterion, make an app for it.
They have an app, just not on anything you use. Get different tech.
Yeah, I pulled it up. I was like, you know what? Let's watch. I paid $10 a month for this. I should probably watch it more. Yeah, I pulled it up, and Criterion has so much great supplemental material, and apart from the actual movies that they stream, that I just get sucked into I watched like 3 hours of supplemental material last week, and one of those was an interview with Guillermo del Toro, and that man is That man is amazing. He has such a unique and incredible approach to life and his work that all of you should check it out.
If I remember right, and I'm actually taking a quick look, but and of course I can't find what I'm looking for. If I remember right, the 4K restoration that Warner Brothers put out, I think has most of the same special features as the Criterion, but the Criterion was a 2K restoration. I have both. I have the Criterion and the 4K, and the restoration looks fantastic.
Does it? Because I think it's right outside of my Blu-ray rule. Because my Blu-ray rule is nothing before 2006 will I buy on Blu-ray, which also now applies to 4K. Nothing before 06 will I buy on 4K. And I think that's 05.
Stuff that gets upgraded to 4K, if it's being done from film, then it'll be a proper 4K restoration. Digital upgrades are a little different. That's why there's a difference in appearance between, say, the original trilogy and the Skywalker saga on 4K versus the prequel films, because those were all digital. These were all film. So it's just something to consider. But yeah, I'm checking it out in my original review. The first warning, special features included on the 4K UHD are included in the 2016 Criterion release, which included a 2K restoration.
Right on.
So if you do have the Criterion, or you can watch through the app, then you'll be able to dig into a lot of those really great special features that Daryl was just talking about.
Yeah, I just have it on DVD because once again, it does not match my Blu-ray criteria. But I might be convinced to go ahead and check that out in 4K. I've only bought 2 4K movies so far. I will take that lend. 8 years from now, we can see each other.
I was about to say in the next year or two.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, I only got 2 4K so far, 2049 and Interstellar. But I am looking to up my 4K-ness.
Blade Runner would be a good one for that.
Yeah. My Blade Runner Blu-ray was messing up. So
what's that?
As my Blade Runner Blu-ray was messing up, it was skipping in some parts. And so I was like, well, no better time than the present.
And most 4Ks do come with a Blu-ray. So if your Blu-ray is acting up, you can just replace that. And you'll get the 4K to go along with it.
You know what? Bought it. Haven't opened it up yet. Douglas has never been more disappointed in me.
No, not at all. Because the number of times I buy a movie and then don't get the opportunity to watch it because of reasons, it's ridiculous. I picked up the collector's edition of The Wizard, which I might have recommended for this. Haven't watched.
Not weird enough.
Huh?
Not weird enough.
Oh, no, you can totally get lost in that. All the nostalgia that's in there. I will never forget being in the theater and seeing the reveal of Super Mario Brothers 3. I was like, what is this? But Connor is now on a sleeping regimen where he has to try and help him sleep through the night and everything else. So he actually is going to bed around 6:30 now. And he's actually, it doesn't take an hour and a half for him to go to sleep anymore. Yay! So Crystal and I have actually had some evenings where it's like I can go watch a movie for work and we have time to hang out after. So I just haven't been able to get to The Wizard, but I'd like to. I just have to find the Yellow Brick Road, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, stop that. And what is your number one there, sir?
Okay, now I want to. Y'all can't see this, but Daryl, can. I have one movie here with a question mark, and I have a movie over here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got 2 options. Now, the reason why I have that is because my original number one, Crystal was like, given the situation, you might not want to do that. That might be too sad. And I went, but it's weird. And she went, I know, but it's sad. You should do something else.
Oh, shout out to Crystal.
Labyrinth on people. So, I'm going to go with my original number one. Now, I know you don't like if it's a set 3, don't do more than that. I want you guys to know that my original choice was this one film. The one Crystal convinced me to replace it with is The Losers, which y'all should still watch because that movie is amazing and its cast is so fucking good.
It is.
It's an adaptation of a comic book that I've never read but want to. But it's got Idris Elba, Zoe Saldana, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Chris Evans, Columbus Short, Jason Patrick, Oscar Juaneda. Most of the people that work in this film have then gone on to do Marvel films or comic book movies and work together again. It's so damn good. I am disappointed it never got another movie.
Yeah.
But that's the movie Crystal said. Yeah, I'm throwing her under the bus. Said because, let's not make it too negative when we get weird. But you threw down Pan's Labyrinth, so I'm going to go with The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
Oh, all right, then old sad Douglas over here.
Old sad Douglas. Now, I've given you Flash Gordon. I've given you Ready to Rumble. So it's getting a little weird. The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus from 2009 is Heath Ledger's last film.
Mm-hmm.
So that in itself is, by and large, sad. This is a Terry Gilliam movie, so take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
depending on how you feel about old Gilliam as either a person or an artist.
I feel like he's either love or hate for a lot of people. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Terry Gilliam, the person, but this is the motherfucker that made 12 Monkeys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he wrote this film along with Charles McGowan, who, in addition to writing Brazil, in addition to writing The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, which he worked on with Gilliam, he worked on one of my favorite films, Plunkett and McLean.
Oh,
we know how you feel about that. Yeah. I was like, you wrote Plunkett and McLean? Yay!
Should have been barred from the industry forever.
But this film is one in which, if you're not familiar with it, a performer has made a deal with the devil to extend his life. And that deal means that the devil gets this performer's firstborn child when she reaches a certain age.
Right
well,
on.
That child is about to reach that age, and the devil's coming to
his due.
Get his due. Well, Heath Ledger is more or less a con artist who ends up joining the group. He's on the run from some people that he has done wrong, and he starts to fall in love with the girl, and he agrees to help out Parnassus, but in doing so creates bigger problems. And Tom Waits, if I remember right, plays the devil in this. Christopher Plummer is Parnassus. Lily Cole, who has done a few things here and there, plays the daughter. Andrew Garfield is part of the troupe, who is, if I recall correctly, also in love with the daughter. But when Heath Ledger passed during the making of this, what's really incredible and as I think is amazing is because the movie itself is a little weird. Mm-hmm. In how they tell its story and everything goes down. It is a Gilliam film that 3 actors end up taking the role that Ledger was playing. And it actually works very well in the way that the film is told and in sort of surreal aspects. But Colin Farrell, Jude Law, and Johnny Depp all play the same character.
Jude Law.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I couldn't think of.
It's what I love about it, as the story goes, that when these actors took on the role, instead of getting paid, their salary went to Ledger's daughter as sort of a trust for her. And it was sort of done in his honor.
Yeah.
And it is a film that is sad with that respect. Mm-hmm. It is a film that isn't necessarily the happiest of films, as Gilliam's films tend to be, although Munchausen does kind of end on a happy ending, depending on if you think it's real or not. But Parnassus, Gilliam's films are films that you can get lost in, no matter how, if you buy into the premise of them. Even The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, if you buy into the premise, you can get lost in that movie. It's quite ridiculous. Yeah. But The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, I think, is one worth revisiting or visiting for the first time when you're just looking for something to distract you from what the fuck is going on right now.
Yeah, when I heard that that Jude Law, Johnny Depp, and Colin Farrell gave their salaries over to his daughter, that's what got me to watch the film. I was like, that's a noble cause. Let me see what this is all about. And I was like, oh, it's Gilliam. Okay. So it's weird as shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it makes a lot of sense. Gwendolyn Christie is actually in this film.
Oh, right on.
She's one of what ends up happening in this movie, just to give you guys sort of an idea, is that Parnassus and his troupe, they sort of set up in places, and they put on, we'll call them plays, and that the people that participate, they're not just audience members, they actually get brought into the play, but because it's Gilliam, it turns into this world.
Yeah.
And so this rich woman, along with her friends, are walking by, and one of them is Gwendolyn Christie, and they get brought into it. But if you're used to seeing her in armor, whether it's as Phasma or as Brienne of Tarth, you will not recognize her.
She's 19 feet tall. You will recognize her.
Had the audacity. It's Gilliam. It could be anybody.
That's true. Had the audacity to wear heels at the Critics' Choice Awards.
Oh my God.
And make me feel small about myself. That's a long woman.
She's just amazing anyway. But yeah, it's unfair.
It's unfair. It's unfair. I love you, Gwendolyn, if you're listening.
Amazing talent and beautiful.
Beautiful. Yes. So that is our 6 collective joints. You want to recap your list real quick?
I will. In no particular order: Flash Gordon, The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, and Ready to Rumble.
I'm going to make an adult film called Flash Gordon.
I'm sure that's been made.
Oh, it definitely has.
Oh, and that has to have been made.
My 3, Friday, Ocean's 11, and Pan's Labyrinth. A lot of good movies. Movies you may or may not have seen. And there's a lot of movies that we haven't seen that we challenge each other to all the time. And that leads to our Cinnamon Challenge. Now, young Douglas, I would like to start with you there, sir. I gave you The King on
you did.
Netflix. What are your overall thoughts about The King, sir?
It's a movie. It is a movie about Henry V, a movie that some might be familiar with as the plays that William Shakespeare has done, or from having read their history books. I was watching this movie with, I have to admit, it was one that had been pushed for nomination last year by Netflix. It was one that I hadn't gotten to by the time the nominations went out. It didn't land on any lists, so I didn't watch it. And I remember hearing that when it premiered, I want to say it was either TIFF or one of the early summer festivals, that the reception was such that David Michaud, is that right?
Yeah.
Because he also did The Rover, went and made some edits to it before it actually premiered on Netflix and in theaters. I get why. I was watching this film, and I'm going, this is a phenomenal cast. It looks great. Score is lovely. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And I was perplexed by this because as a former literature major, I'm sure I read the Henrys. I'm absolutely sure that I read the Henrys. And I was a little disappointed that we didn't get a St. Crispin's Day speech that I'm pretty sure was from this Henry, but we got an abridged
old
version.
Agincourt.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? Ever since Braveheart, we got man on horse speeches. We didn't get one in here, and that's fine.
It was a man on foot speech.
Yes, we did. A minor one, which was actually quite good. But it's just, there was something about it that it was, and I don't mean this in a denigrating way. I want to be clear here, because I get why people would enjoy this film. But to me, it was very high on itself. It's the kind of film that was asking to be recognized as a piece of art. And as such, I found trouble taking it seriously.
Right on.
Not that it was funny or silly, but I always think back to a line from Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip by Sorkin, where two characters are talking. I'm sure I've referenced this before, where they're talking about the difference between a practice reading and doing it in front of the audience, why it didn't work. And the reference is, in the practice, you were asking for the butter. In the live performance, you were asking for the joke. You were asking for the laugh. To me, this is asking for the laugh. It is in the quote unquote laugh, where it's trying to be so serious that we can tell it's reaching for that. And for some reason, it doesn't work. I ran into that with, say, Hacksaw Ridge from a couple years ago, which was a very good film. But at the end of it, you've got Andrew Garfield he's displayed as though Christ-like, being carried. And I'm like, all right, you had me until that moment. But Joel Edgerton is amazing as Falstaff. Loved him. Wanted more of him.
I think that is my favorite. Attack of the Clones aside, I think it is my favorite Joel Edgerton performance that I've seen.
He's in Attack of the Clones?
I'm pretty sure. Isn't he Uncle Ben, the young Uncle Ben?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
He is. Forgot about that. Now that you mentioned it, absolutely. Ben Mendelsohn's in this. It took me a minute. I was like, wait a minute. That is Ben Mendelsohn.
It took me a minute.
Robert Pattinson showed up out of flipping nowhere and steals every scene he is in as this low rent Lestat. I was like, this is he trying to be Queen of the Damned Lestat? Is that what we're getting with this? With him as a Frenchman? It was just chewing on the scenery. Amazing.
Yeah, I think he might be the I think Pattinson and Joel Edgerton might be the best parts of this movie.
Absolutely. And I say that having loved Timothée Chalamet in Little Women, that I recently went through the home release for that. Little Women was one of my favorite films of 2019.
Oh, yeah.
But I struggled with him in this, not because I don't think he was fitting for the dramatic scene work, but that watching him, I didn't get a presence of a king even at any point in this. And I realized that the character doesn't want to be king. Yeah. So I have no issue with that. But I'm watching him in an early scene where he and Thomasin McKenzie, not Thomasin McKenzie played the sister, my apologies.
Sister, yeah.
Who was in
Jojo
Rabbit. She was amazing. But the actor who plays his brother, who I can't remember
the 1917 George McKay?
What?
George McKay?
No, other actor. I can't think of his name.
I can't think of his name.
But he was very good in 1917. He was very good in Game of Thrones. Not given much here, but in their scene that they're doing together where they're on a battlefield and they're both dressed in armor, Timothée Chalamet still has that sort of hunched over laissez-faire ladybird attitude or Laurie attitude from 1917, from Little Women, that worked in both of those films. His posture and physical performance doesn't work for me as well here, but still very good. It has some great moments. Lily Rose Depp in there for a cup of coffee is absolutely fantastic. But there was overall, it just didn't work for me as a whole. I get why people enjoy it. I want to enjoy it. It has the pieces that work so well, but for some reason, it didn't work for me, and that made me sad.
It makes me sad.
2 hours and 20 minutes
that you can't get back.
I wanted it to work for me. Right. I will say though, the fight sequence in its full version between the English army and the French army, one led by Henry, one led by the Prince of France, who is Robert Pattinson, was fantastic. I did love the staging of it and the presentation of that.
Yeah, and specifically within that fight, when Falstaff finds himself in the square middle, and they have that top-down shot of everything just closing in on him, and he's panicking to find a way out.
Yeah,
I think is a great shot there.
Yeah, Edgerton is fantastic. He is a multi-hyphenate in the truest sense, and he excels in just about everything he does. And finding out that this is the same team that did The Rover, that was an amazing movie you challenged me to watch because I hadn't seen it. And if it's still on Netflix, please, if you haven't checked that out, that is fantastic. Robert Pattinson is amazing.
Amazing in that. Is Joel Edgerton the orc in Bright?
Yes.
That dude really does do everything.
Yes. But he's written, he's directed, and he acts, and he takes chances. He does stuff, and I dig the hell out of that. I dig someone that is willing to take chances, and unfortunately, the women in the industry, the minorities in the industry, aren't given the same latitude as many white men in the industry. But Joel Edgerton, he goes for it, man.
I don't think he cares too much about his brand or his image. He's like, if it's interesting, fuck it, I'll do it.
Absolutely. And I was actually thinking about that recently. I was rewatching Parabellum, just have it on in the background while I was doing something. And Keanu Reeves is like that, where he will do something, doesn't matter how it makes him look. He'll do something if it makes sense for the character, if it makes sense for the story. And then you've got someone, I was so sad when I heard about Hobbs and Shaw, Jason Statham and Dwayne Johnson. They had it in their contracts how they had to be hit a certain number of times, had to be equal. One couldn't be beneath the other. And I'm going, oh my God, you guys.
It makes for a complicated to shoot fight scene instead of just a good fight scene or action scene or whatever the case may be. Like you're anytime that someone is limited in the art that they can make, it's never as great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I get for a movie like Hobbs and Shaw where you need to have them each win a fight. I get that because the characters need to be on equal footing.
Yeah.
But as actors, though, it's like, you don't want your brand to look bad? Come on, make a good movie. Nobody cares about that.
Yeah.
They do. So somebody
They do. Yeah. Speaking of art, you gave me Portrait of a Lady on Fire. And man, is this movie some wild shit.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. My Twitter nemesis, Dave Gianni, named it his #1 film of 2019. And that's when I was like, man, maybe I should check this movie out. And then it dropped on Hulu. And I put it on.
Watch it, everybody. It's on Hulu.
I put it on the list, and then you gave it to me as a challenge. So thank you for that, sir.
You're welcome.
It earned every bit of its, I think, 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. This movie is, a lot of people think it's pretentious to say a film is art. This movie is art. This movie is amazing. It is incredibly directed, incredibly acted, incredibly shot, and not nary a hint of a score, which I appreciate because I think in a movie like this, the score will distract from what is going on the scene, on the screen. I didn't write down any of the particulars of who's in it or who directed it because I was too busy in it. But for those that don't know, a quick overview is a woman is commissioned to make a painting of a woman. The end. And how that plays out is how that plays out. One of the things that I find...
Does a film go from one point to another point?
That's
how it goes?
It goes almost, one could say, from A to Z.
Oh, okay. One could say that.
One could say that there is a first act, a second act, and a third act in this movie.
That is fair.
One of the things I love about this film is is behind the scenes. The woman whose hands you see doing the actual art itself, because obviously this actress is not an accomplished painter, but the woman whose hands they cut to was on set painting for 16 hours a day. I found out.
Wow.
And at the very end, when you get that shot of her in the art gallery, that's what she was painting for 16 hours a day.
Wow.
That was all her shit that she painted. And it is all, you don't get to see a whole lot of it, but what you do see is beautiful. So, I guess a bit of a spoiler is the fact that you see this woman is commissioned to a painting of another woman. You see two paintings. You see your first exhibit, and then they scrap that for a second exhibit. I think it is incredibly interesting that someone as talented as this painter would have to paint something that we as regular people go, oh, that's pretty dope, and then do something better than that. So she had to lower her skill set. I love seeing things like that, like actors who have to act like they're shitty actors.
Yeah.
Stuff like that is very challenging to do. And this is a talented painter who has to paint beneath her level, still make a good product, and then make a great product. The acting in this movie is fucking phenomenal. Yeah. It is amazing. Between the painter, the painted, and the maid, Leslie was like, I just want a movie about the three of them doing everyday shenanigans.
Yeah.
And I could not agree more. There's nothing horrible about this film at all. If you're looking for something to just lose yourself in, let's say, get caught up in this movie, because this movie makes me wish I could redo my whole best of 2019 list. I'm not sure where it would land at. I told Dave, my nemesis, that it would land just under Endgame because I knew it would piss him off, and I achieved my results. But this movie is amazing. I thank you, sir, for giving me this challenge.
You are incredibly welcome. I saw it only came out in theaters, I think, in our area right before everything shut down.
Yeah.
And it was, I think, in select theaters back in the fall before it landed.
Didn't you see it before before it came out on video?
Yes. Yes.
Because it was on your best of 2019 list, isn't it?
It was.
Okay, yeah.
I was sent a screener for voting purposes,
Mm.
and my voting was shouted down.
Oh.
Shouted down hard.
Speaking of which, the great country that is France put up 3 movies for the Academy Awards for Best International Feature, as it is called now.
Yeah.
It was this, a movie with Eva Green, who will always have my heart.
No, Eva Green.
Eva Green.
Yeah. I forget if you know Hunter Heilman or not, but he shared something on Twitter some time ago going, oh, we've all been saying it wrong. And there was an audio file of her introducing herself for an audiobook, Eva Green.
Well, that woman is Eva Green.
Yeah.
And whatever the third movie is, and they ended up putting up Proxima, I think, and they ended up putting Proxima as their best. And I'm like, why did you not put Portrait of a... That's the one that would have gave Parasite a run for its money.
Yeah, it would have.
Yeah,
absolutely. It ended up, and I just pulled it up because I was curious for myself. It is my number 3 film of last year.
It was number 3 on your list. Okay.
Also under Endgame. But Endgame was,
Dave.
Endgame within the... When you think about not just it as a film, but as a capstone for all the other Marvel movies that came before it and what it accomplishes, that's sort of, for me, why it was a little higher. But Portrait of a Lady on Fire, I agree with you. It's a film about, and we actually talked about it on this show when we did our I think, top 10 for the year.
And Veronica's top 35.
Yes. But it's a film about so many different things, but where a film features art and it mimics that art in its presentation. The cinematography, the lighting, the direction, it's very similar to painting.
Right.
It is just the moving visual form instead of the stagnant version of it. And the references that are within this film from other films whose names at the moment I do not recall, but like the scene where the 2 women have gone for a walk and they're standing overlooking a cliff, and our lead, who is played by hold on, I want to make sure I get this right.
Melanie something?
I'm going to Naomi Merlan, who plays Marianne the painter. She's standing overlooking the cliff with Adele Haenel, who plays Heloise. And you see her in profile, Marianne, turn to look to her right, and you see Heloise staring at her, and that's a homage to another film, much like later on in the film when Marianne is painting and she's looking in a mirror, but where that mirror is placed is also an homage. So, by the way, if you're in quarantine with a loved one, watch this movie.
Watch
a nice bottle of wine.
Yeah, it'll get you where you need to be.
Yeah, I would also recommend, if you haven't seen it, The Handmaiden, for similar reasons.
Which you were going to let me borrow.
South Korean joint, so it's going to get weird before it gets to the sexy times.
That scene that you just referenced about her painting herself in the mirror and where that mirror is placed, when that scene was done, I was like, that's way better than Kate Winslet in Titanic, I'll tell you that much. Right? Yes, it is. Greatness all throughout this movie.
Absolutely. And in particular, the fact that with that film, it's about femininity, but not necessarily in the stereotypical way that femininity would be portrayed or love would be portrayed. But I agree. I think a few minutes ago you said that you and Leslie were like, I just want these 3 women that are in this house together.
Yeah,
absolutely. The one thing, though, that threw me for a loop when I was watching it the first time and I had to go check it out is that the actor who plays Heloise's mother was in the Hot Shots movies.
Wait. The Charlie Sheen's Hot Shots movie.
Yep.
Oh, my.
That the woman who played Charlie Sheen's love interest?
Yeah.
That's the mom.
I'll be damned.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting bit of tidbit here. You can only find on the Cinnamon or the internet.
Well, yeah. Also. But come to the Cinnamon for that.
There you go.
We'll go to the internet for you.
We're an aggregate podcast.
On the internet.
Yeah. What? How you want to wrap this bad boy up, sir? We're not. We don't have any challenges on hand to give out.
We don't have any challenges on hand, and certainly want to acknowledge to everybody who's listening. If you made it this far in the episode, thank you so much for bearing with us as we work out these technological issues. We are hoping to make the shows as entertaining as they've always been. And, we may not have a challenge today, but of course, we will be always available online where we will be giving each other all kinds of regular challenges and grief. And we'll probably make known our future challenges somewhere online so that you can join in with them.
I like it. This show, we cannot end this show without a shout out to Casual Confections, which I assume is.
I tried to get her on here.
Oh,
I tried to get her on here because she's just downstairs.
One of these days, episode 100, will finally feature Crystal.
As long as we're doing the quarantine era of the Cinnamon, we'll figure out how to get her on here, even if it's just to be like, hello.
It's going to be top 3 Crystal movies. She'll give you 3. She'll give me 3. So that should be the top 9. All right, then. Well, you know what? Shout out to you, sir, for suggesting Zoom and the fact that we throw this all together. So we can keep this bad boy on a rolling.
I'm just glad it's so far working. Knock on wood. Had to learn how to use Zoom for my classes along with Google Hangout, and I just refuse. I refuse for us to go dark. I do not want to go silently into that good night. I know it's not happening. We have worked too hard. If I have to go and stand outside of your door, standing 6 feet apart, we will figure out a way to do this. It is just too much damn fun, and we have worked too hard to just stop. So we're doing it.
I 100% agree with all those sentiments.
Well, of course, because that means you get to stay at home. I'm the one who has to drive across town. You lazy bastard.
You're correct. All right, then I do believe this wraps up episode 27-ish of
27, in fact. Yes.
Oh, yes. Episodes. 27 of the Cinnamon. We will be back in 2 or so weeks, hopefully.
We'll see. Hopefully.
We'll see with another episode for you. Until then, you guys take it easy.
Be well, everybody. Stay 6 feet apart. Stay healthy.